Here's how Drake prophesized the future 10 years ago with his album, Nothing Was the Same. Now, keep in mind where Drake was at that time. He had just come off of what now is considered a classic with Take Care. He was at the height of his momentum. He was dropping singles and Lucy's on SoundCloud. People were tuning into Drake's every move. But at the same time, what people have to remember is he wasn't all encompassingly accepted by all of hip hop. He still was fighting for that top spot. Now, he was close to it, but keep in mind, Kendrick was right there. Kendrick was coming for that spot. Kendrick had just dropped Control. Kendrick had just dropped Good Kid, Mad City. Him and Drake were kind of going back and forth on records even. And, Drake even threw some shots on Nothing Was the Same. But by no means was it solidified that, Drake was going to go on this crazy run. Now, he was obviously 3 for 3 after this album. If you want to include So Far Gone and Comeback Season, you give him 4 or 5. But Drake was not necessarily the guy. On the intro to Nothing Was the Same, he does say he's just as famous as his mentor being Lil Wayne. So he's kind of putting himself on that level. Of course, he had rapped with Kanye. He'd rapped with Andre 3000. He'd rapped with Eminem in the past. Jay-Z, of course. So he was in that category, but we got to look back at where Drizzy was at the time, and it wasn't necessarily at the exact same spot that he was in when you looked down the road a few years. But all that being said, if you look at when Drake dropped Nothing Was the Same, let me share my screen. And we can go into this for a second. So when Drake dropped Nothing Was the Same, it was September 24th, 2013. So that is about to be 10 years. Now, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this album. What is your favorite song on the album? And do you think it's a classic years later? But let's go to Tuscan Leather. A lot of you probably already know what I'm about to say right now. But Drake said, I'm tired of hearing about who you checking for now. Just give it time. We'll see who's still around a decade from now. He said that September 24th, 2013. It is September 22nd right now, 2023. And to say that Drake is still here would be an understatement. His run is unmatched, unheard of. You want to give Jay, you want to give Wayne, you want to give Kanye runs like that. Of course, feel free to debate it in the comments. But in terms of consistently every year, every second year, having something for this long, it's almost unmatched when it comes to his run. And if you look at what people are excited for right now in music, there's not that many people dropping that people still talk about in terms of excitement. But For All the Dogs is coming out next week as of right now, or a week and a half, or 2 weeks, I guess, at this point. And people are just as excited for this new album as they probably were for Nothing Was the Same, maybe a little bit different, but the amount of people that are still there with Drake, still excited, still ready to hear what he has to say is almost unmatched. But I also found it really interesting. Shout out to my boy Dylan from Overtime Sound. I found this theory on TikTok that he posted really interesting when it comes to Nothing Was the Same. And let me know what you guys think of this. So
is Drake's Nothing Was the Same meant to be listened to in reverse? So in 2013, Drake did an interview with Vibe revealing that the initial idea for the deluxe album was to reverse the order of the songs, with Pound Cake being first. And that famous Jimmy Smith speech does fit perfectly as an album intro.
So we hope you enjoy listening to this album half as much as we enjoy playing it for you.
And remember, on that intro to Pound Cake, he says only real music's gonna last. All that other is here today and gone tomorrow. And if you look at it, a lot of the people who were around at the same time as Drake in 2013 are no longer here. So let's just take a look here. Biggest rappers in 2013. So, of course, Kendrick, Cole, Drake. Rocky hasn't really dropped. Of course, shout out to Rocky. I love him, but it's not like he's been consistent for a long time. Rest in peace to Mac Miller. Chance the Rapper, love Chance, but it's not like he is on the same level as Drake in terms of output right now as he was then, and he was even younger. A lot of these people haven't dropped albums in years, and rest in peace to Mac Miller. But if you look at that landscape, even let's look at biggest rap songs in 2013. Rich Homie Quan, and shout out, I've interviewed Rich Homie Quan, love Rich Homie Quan, but if you look at that being one of the biggest songs of the year and look at where he's at versus where Drake is at, and Drake has 2 of those songs, it's not even really close. And so, you know, look at all the Drake on here. I think really him and Kendrick have maintained that lane at the top. But anyways, back to this.
But as we approach the final 2 songs in the reversed track list, things start to get interesting. As Furthest Thing fades out, Drake tells us,
It's the shit I want to go out to.
And then it seamlessly transitions into the reverse sample of Whitney Houston for Tuscan Leather.
Which is one of the craziest samples of all time, by the way. Hearing that, I'm like, this theory might be real. Like I could see the album going in reverse, and I urge some of you guys to listen to it in reverse and see what you think. Let me know if it actually makes sense to you. It does to me, and hearing this theory, I might like the album even more because I know Kendrick did that with Damn, where you could reverse it, and there's fan theories, and I saw Drake as calculated, but I didn't see him that calculated with his track listing. So to see it like this is really cool. Furthest Thing is one of my top 5 favorite Drake songs, by the way. So let me know yours in the comments.
And in the last verse, he says,
How much time is this nigga spending on the intro?
but if you're listening in reverse, why would he call the outro the intro? Well, in the very next line, he says,
Lately, I've been feeling like Guy Pearce and Memento.
making it all click. In Memento, Guy Pearce is
If you guys haven't seen that movie, amazing movie. Basically, it's in reverse. So you don't realize it at the time, just like with this album, but the whole thing is actually happening in reverse and he's recalling it as he goes along.
able to form new short-term memories due to an accident. So he lives moment to moment, often forgetting what he's doing while he's doing it. And the movie plays in reverse, starting with the end and then showing the moments leading up to the end until you get to the beginning. This would explain why Drake would be calling the outro the intro here. Then as the song comes to a close, we get the Curtis Mayfield speech, making a seemingly fitting outro.
So you'd like to just make it close out with something.
All of this really gives a whole new meaning to start it from the bottom and leaves us with one question. Is Drake's Nothing Was the Same meant to be listened to in reverse?
So what do you guys think? Is that, something that you think is possible? Do you think that actually is how the album is meant to be listened to? And what do you think of the album years later, 10 years later, a decade later? Some of you watching might have only been 10 years old at the time. Some of you are probably like me, where you were, coming up in college or high school, and that music has a meaningful impact to your memories. But what's your best memory listening to Nothing Was the Same? I remember going to Walmart and parking in the parking lot and listening in my car before school with my eyes closed, and just when I first heard Furthest Thing, when I first heard Too Much on live, was it Jimmy Fallon or something like that, Jimmy Kimmel maybe, and he was talking to his mom and his uncle and his family, and hearing Connect for the first time when I was going through a breakup was just incredibly emotional, of course. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you want me to cover next. But it's safe to say that bar was prophesized and it did come true, because 10 years later, like it or not, love him or hate him, Drake is still around and could be more relevant than ever. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.